The sun rises over Nkosi, a humble village nestled in a valley where acacias cast long shadows and the air hums with the chatter of weaver birds. Mud huts, their walls smoothed by generations, cluster around a dusty square where goats bleat and women pound millet with rhythmic thuds. A river, glinting like polished copper, winds through the nearby woods, its whispers promising secrets to those who listen. In this quiet corner of the world, a boy named Juma carries the weight of hope, his every step a tale of grit and kindness. If you think you can follow his journey without a tear or a cheer, you probably won't survive this. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Drop a comment with your location and local time. I'd love to know where you're listening as we dive into this African folktale. Nkosi is a place of struggle, its fields often parched, its harvests lean. Yet its people endure with songs and stories that rival the stars. Juma, barely 16, is no stranger to hardship. His mother, Zuri, a weaver with hands calloused from looms, raises him alone, their hut a single room lit by a flickering oil lamp. His father, lost to a fever years ago, left only a carved wooden pendant Juma wears, its leopard shape a reminder of courage. Each dawn, Juma rises before the roosters, his lean frame darting through Nkosi's lanes to fetch water, tend goats, or gather firewood. The village knows him his quick smile, his willingness to share his last yam, his habit of fixing elders' roofs after storms. Juma's heart is bigger than his strength. The griots sing, their kora strings humming his praise. This morning, the village buzzes with its usual rhythm. Zuri, her headscarf bright with indigo, weaves a blanket, her fingers swift as she hums a lullaby. Juma, sweat beading on his brow, hauls a water jug from the river, his pendant bouncing against his chest. Children trail him, giggling, begging for one of his stories tales of talking baobabs or clever hares he spins to make them laugh. At the square, Elder Mfo, a stooped man with a staff carved with snakes, watches Juma help a trader unload millet sacks. That boy, Mfo says, his voice gravelly, carries Nkosi's spirit. The trader, wiping dust from her brow, nods, recalling how Juma once shared his supper when her own went missing. Juma's life, though, is no song. His sandals, patched with twine, barely hold together, and Zuri's cough, worsening each night, gnaws at his heart. The healer, a woman named Kessie, demands cowries for medicine cowries Juma doesn't have. He earns scraps bartering firewood or repairing fences, but it's never enough. Still, he dreams, his eyes on the woods beyond Nkosi, where the river's song hints at mysteries. The griots tell of spirits there, of paths that change lives, and Juma, though practical, feels a pull, as if the woods call his name. Zuri, catching his gaze, warns, "Stay close, my son." The forest keeps what it claims. Her words, heavy with love, anchor him, but the call grows louder. By noon, Juma rests under a shade tree, his water jug empty, his stomach growling. A girl, Lila, offers him a roasted ground nut, her grin teasing. "You work too hard." "Juma," she says, tossing her braids. He laughs, sharing the nut, his kindness reflex. Lila's father, a fisherman, owes Juma for mending his nets, a debt unpaid but never pressed. Nkosi's people lean on Juma this way his hands fix, his heart gives, his stories lift. But the elders, gathered by Mfo's hut, whisper of his future. "He's no warrior," one says, "but his soul is strong." Another, chewing cola, muses. The ancestors watch him, Something waits. As dusk paints the valley pink, Juma heads to the river for one last jug, the wood's shadows lengthening. The village settles fires crackle, griots sing of heroes. Zuri's loom clacks softly. Juma, pendant warm against his skin, feels the forest's pull sharper now, a hum beneath the river's flow. He kneels to fill his jug, the water cold, when a sound of faint, pained cry cuts through the dusk. It's no bird, no beast, but human, desperate, coming from the woods. His heart races. Zuri's warning clashing with his instinct to help. Nkosi knows Juma's kindness, but this cry, raw and urgent, will test his courage, pulling him into a fate where a dying girl and a hidden truth wait under the forest's ancient canopy. The woods beyond Nkosi hum with secrets, their ancient trees draped in vines, the air thick with the scent of damp earth and wild jasmine as twilight deepens. Juma, water jug abandoned by the river, follows the faint cry he heard. Remember that desperate sound cutting through the dusk, his heart pounding. Zuri's warning about the forest's claim echoing in his mind. His patched sandals slip on mossy stones, the leopard pendant warm against his chest, urging him deeper into the shadows. Nkosi's griots sing of spirits in these woods, of paths that twist fates, and Juma, though no warrior, feels their pull, his kindness driving him toward a voice that trembles with pain, unaware that this moment will entwine his life with a mystery far beyond his village's dusty square. The cry grows louder, guiding him through a maze of roots and ferns, the river's murmur fading behind. Moonlight filters through the canopy, silvering the leaves, and Juma's breath catches every rustle could be a leopard, every shadow a spirit. He clutches the pendant, its carved shape a tether to his father's courage, and presses on. His eyes scanning the undergrowth, the woods feel alive, their whispers urging him forward, as if Nkosi's ancestors watch, their songs woven into the night. Juma, used to fixing roofs and sharing yams, is no stranger to helping, but this feels different, heavier, like a griot's tale unfolding around him. He stumbles into a clearing, where a gnarled baobab stands, its trunk wide as a hut, roots sprawling like veins. There, slumped against the tree, is a girl, her breath ragged, her skin pale beneath a torn cloak. Blood stains her side, seeping from a gash, and her eyes, wide with fear, lock onto Juma's. She's young, perhaps his age, her hair braided with beads that glint like stars. Her clothes fine despite their ruined fabrics Juma has only seen on traders from distant cities. "Help," she whispers, her voice cracking, and Juma, heart racing, kneels beside her, his hands trembling but steady, the way they are when mending nets or soothing Zuri's cough. "Don't move," he says, his voice calm, despite the panic clawing his chest. He tears a strip from his tunic, pressing it to her wound, the blood warm against his fingers. The girl winces, her hand gripping his, her strength fading. "Stay with me," Juma urges, his kindness reflex, the same he showed Lila with the groundnut. He scans the clearing, mind racing Nkosi's healer. Casey is too far, and Zuri's remedies are basic. The woods, though, hold secrets. Cassie once spoke of herbs, like saffara leaf, that clot blood, growing near streams. Juma, no stranger to foraging, knows a creek lies nearby, its banks lush with plants, but leaving the girl risks her slipping away. "What's your name?" he asks, tying the cloth tighter, buying time. "Amina," she murmurs, her voice faint, her eyes flickering with trust. Juma nods, repeating it. "Amina, I'm Juma. I'll get help." Her grip tightens, a plea, and he sees something in her gaze, a strength beneath the pain, a story unspoken. The pendant warms, as if his father nods, and Juma makes his choice. "I'll be back," he says, propping her against the baobab, her cloak a shield against the night's chill. He marks the tree with a stone, a promise to return, and sprints toward the creek. The cries echo, driving him, unaware that Amina's fine beads hint at a life worlds apart from his. The creek glints under starlight, its banks thick with ferns and Safara's jagged leaves. Juma, heart pounding, gathers handfuls. Their bitter scent, sharp. His hands scratched by thorns. A rustle, maybe a hyena, makes him freeze, but Amina's fading breath spurs him on. He stuffs the leaves into his tunic, racing back, the wood's shadows clawing at his fear. And Nkosi's griots would sing of this Juma, the boy who runs for a stranger, his heart bigger than his strength. Back at the baobab, Amina's eyes flutter, her pulse weak. Juma chews the Safara, spitting the paste onto her wound, a trick Casey taught him, his hand steady despite the blood. "Hold on," he whispers, wrapping her tighter. The night's chill deepening. Amina stirs, her breath steadier, the Safara slowing the bleed. Juma sits vigil, his back against the baobab, the pendant a quiet comfort. The woods hum, as if approving, their spirits watching a boy who shares more than yams. Amina mumbles, words of cities and lights, strange to Juma's ears, but he listens, his presence her anchor. Dawn nears, painting the canopy gold, and Juma knows he must get her to Nkosi Casey's skill. Zuri's care, but the wood's call lingers. Amina's beads a mystery, her life a thread that will weave through his, pulling him toward a fate where kindness meets a billionaire's hidden world. The first light of dawn filters through the woods, gilding the baobab's gnarled roots as Juma kneels beside Amina, her breath shallow but steady. The Safara paste remember that bitter herb from the creek holding her wounds bleed at bay. His leopard pendant gleams faintly, a quiet nod to his father's courage, while Amina's beaded braids, sparkling despite the dirt, hint at a world beyond Nkosi's mud huts. Juma's tunic, torn from binding her injury, clings to his sweat-soaked skin, his heart still racing from the night's vigil. The woods hum softly, their spirits seeming to watch, as Juma, driven by the same kindness that shared a groundnut with Lila, grapples with a truth he cannot yet see Amina. The girl he saved is no ordinary wanderer, but a billionaire, her identity veiled by pain and the forest's shadows. Amina stirs, her eyes fluttering open, their deep brown catching the dawn. "You're still here," she whispers, her voice weak but warm, a flicker of strength returning. Juma, relieved, offers a smile, his hands checking the makeshift bandage. "Told you I'd stay," he says, his voice steady, though exhaustion tugs at him. Her cloak, finely woven despite its tears, slips, revealing a silver bracelet etched with strange symbols nothing like Nkosi's cowrie jewelry. Juma notices but doesn't question, his focus on her survival. "We need to get you to the village," he says, glancing at the path back to Nkosi, where Kessie's healing and Zuri's care wait. Moving her is risky. Her gash, though staunched, could reopen, and the woods teem with danger's hyenas, snakes, or the spirits griots sing of. Juma, no stranger to carrying firewood or water jugs, assesses her slight frame. "Can you walk?" he asks. Amina nods, wincing as she tries to stand, her hand gripping his arm. Her strength surprises him, a fire beneath her fragility, and he supports her, his arm around her waist, her cloak draped over her shoulders. The baobab, their shelter, looms like a sentinel, its roots marking the spot where Juma's life began to shift, though he doesn't know it yet. The trek to Nkosi is slow, the forest floor uneven, vines snagging their steps. Juma, guiding Amina, keeps his pendant close, its warmth a comfort against the wood's eerie hum. Amina, leaning on him, mumbles thanks, her words laced with a polished accent, unfamiliar to Juma's ears. "Where are you from?" he asks, curious but gentle, his voice like when he coaxes stories from Lila. Amina hesitates, her eyes distant. Far, she says, a place of lights and noise. Her vagueness, like her bracelet, stirs Juma's wonder, but he presses no further, his kindness a steady hand, not a pry. Halfway to Nkosi, a rustle halts them. A wild dog, its eyes glinting, stalking from the underbrush. Juma, heart pounding, grabs a stick, stepping between Amina and the beast, his courage raw, like when he faced the creek's thorns. "Stay back," he whispers, waving the stick, his voice firm. Amina, clutching his tunic, whispers, "You don't have to," but Juma's glare silences the dog, its tail low as it slinks away. Amina's gaze softens, seeing his bravery, and Juma, panting, feels her trust, a bond forming under the wood's watchful canopy. They reach Nkosi by mid-morning, the village stirring with the clatter of pots and children's laughter. Juma, supporting Amina, calls for Zuri, his voice cutting through the square. Zuri, her headscarf bright, rushes from their hut, her cough forgotten in her worry. Juma, "What's this?" she asks, eyeing Amina's fine cloak and beads. "She's hurt," Juma says, guiding Amina to their hut, its mud walls cool against the sun. Kessie, the healer, is summoned, her basket of herbs ready, her sharp eyes noting Amina's wealth, fine cloth for a wanderer. Casey mutters, cleaning the wound, her hands deft as she applies a poultice, the Safara's work praised. Amina, laid on Zuri's woven mat, drifts into a fevered sleep, her bracelet glinting. Juma, exhausted, sits by her, his pendant a quiet anchor. Zuri, stroking his hair, whispers, "You've a lion's heart, my son," her pride warm, though her cough rattles. Kessie, finishing, demands cowries, but Juma, penniless, promises work, his eyes on Amina's pale face. The village buzzes. Lila spreads word of Juma's rescue. Elder Empho nods approval, but whispers, "Grow, who is this girl?" With beads like a queen's Juma, unaware of Amina's billionaire truth, feels only duty, his kindness a light that will soon face the shadow of her hidden world, as Nkosi's simple life meets a fate woven by the wood's call. The midday sun bathes Nkosi in a golden haze, its mud huts glowing as Juma sits by Amina in Zuri's humble hut. The woven mat beneath her stained with Safar's green residue. Remember that herb Juma risked thorns to gather. Amina's fever has broken, her wound cleaned by Casey's poultice, but her breath remains shallow, her silver bracelet catching the light filtering through the hut's low door. Juma's leopard pendant rests against his chest, its warmth a quiet strength, his patched tunic still torn from binding her injury in the woods. Zuri, her cough harsher today, brews millet porridge, her eyes flicking between Juma's tired face and Amina's fine beads, a mystery stirring in Nkosi's dusty heart. Juma, driven by the kindness that fixed Mefo's roof, now risks greater dangers to ensure Amina's survival, unaware that her billionaire identity lies hidden beneath her fragile frame. Kessie, the healer, lingers, her sharp gaze on Amina's cloak, its weave too fine for a wanderer. "She needs more than Safara," Kessie says, her voice low, a root, Quevi, to mend her blood. Juma, penniless, feels the weight of her unspoken demand for cowries, his promise to work already stretching his days. Quevi, Kessie explains. Grows deep in the woods, near a ravine where leopards prowl, its red roots rare and guarded by the forest's spirits. Without it, she'll weaken, Kessie warns, leaving Juma with a basket and a deadline dusk. Or Amina's strength may fade. Zuri, stirring the porridge, grips Juma's arm. "The woods took your father," she says, her cough cutting her words. "Don't go." But Amina's faint moan, her hand twitching, pulls Juma like the cry he heard his heart, bigger than his strength, won't let him stay. He grabs a stick, his only weapon, and slips out. The village bustling with noon's rhythm women weave. Goats bleat, Lila's voice calling after him. "Be careful." Juma and Kosi's square fades as he enters the woods, their canopy darker now, the ravine a half-day's trek. The pendant warms, as if his father walks beside him. And Juma moves swiftly, his sandals slipping on roots, his eyes scanning for Quavi's red-tipped leaves. The forest hums, its spirits watchful, griots' tales of leopards and lost heroes echoing in his mind. Juma, no stranger to foraging, knows danger hyenas stalked him at the creek, but Amina's life, tethered to his courage, drives him deeper, his kindness aflame against the wood's shadows. The ravine looms, its edges crumbling, a stream glinting below where Quavi grows. Juma descends, gripping vines, his stick tucked in his belt. The air grows heavy, a low growl freezing him a leopard, its spots blending with the ferns, eyes locked on his. Juma, heart pounding, recalls the wild dog he faced, his courage raw. He raises the stick, shouting, "Go," his voice cracking but firm, the pendant hot against his skin. The leopard hesitates, then slinks away, the woods hum softening, as if approving. Juma exhales, scrambling to the stream, where Quavi's roots glow red. He digs, hands bleeding, the roots tough, his basket filling as sweat stings his eyes, Amina's faint help echoing in his mind. With the roots secured, Juma climbs, thorns snagging his tunic, the ravine's shadows lengthening. A misstep sends pebbles tumbling, his foot twisting, but he grits his teeth, the pendant's warmth urging him on. Dusk nears, the woods darker, and Juma runs, Quavi safe, his pain secondary to Amina's need. And Kosi's huts appear, the square quiet, and he bursts into the hut, Kessie waiting. "You're late," she snaps, but her hands are quick, grinding Quavi into a paste, smearing it on Amina's wound. Zuri, coughing, embraces Juma, her eyes wet. "My lion," she whispers, though her worry lingers. The wood's danger too close. Amina stirs, the Quavi working, her color returning, her bracelet glinting as she grips Juma's hand. "You came back," she murmurs, her voice stronger, a smile breaking through her pain. Juma, exhausted, nods, his kindness reflex, unaware of the wealth behind her beads. Kessie, watching, mutters about city folk, her suspicion sharp, but Juma, focused on Amina's recovery. Misses it. Zuri, offering porridge, sees Amina's strength, her cough a reminder of their own struggles. And Kosi whispers. Lila tells of Juma's ravine trek. Mfo praises his heart, but the elder's eyes linger on Amina. Her fine cloak a puzzle, her presence a spark that will soon ignite Juma's simple world with a billionaire's truth. The evening sun dips low over Nkosi, casting long shadows across the mud huts as Juma sits by Amina's side in Zuri's hut. The air thick with the scent of Quavi paste. Remember that red root Juma risked a leopard to gather Amina's wound, bound with Casey's poultice. Heals slowly, her breath steady now, her silver bracelet and beaded braids glinting in the lamplight. Juma's leopard pendant rests against his torn tunic, his hands still raw from the ravine, his heart eased by Amina's faint smile. Zuri, her cough sharper tonight, stirs a pot of yam stew, her eyes soft but wary, sensing Amina's strangeness. The village hums outside, griots singing of Juma's courage, but Amina's cryptic tales, shared in fevered whispers, weave a bond with Juma, pulling him closer to a billionaire's secret he cannot yet fathom. Amina, propped on the woven mat, sips water, her strength returning, her eyes bright with gratitude. "You didn't have to risk so much," she says, her voice polished, unlike Nkosi's rough cadence. Juma, mending a torn basket, shrugs, his kindness reflex, like when he fixed Mfo's roof. "Couldn't leave you," he says, his smile shy, the pendant warm against his chest. Amina's gaze lingers, her bracelet clinking as she shifts, and she begins a story, her words halting but vivid, of a city where towers touch the sky, markets hum with machines, and lights drown the stars. Juma, used to Griot's tales of spirits, listens, entranced, her world as foreign as her cloak's fine weave. "Your city sounds like a dream," he says, weaving straw, his curiosity sparking. Amina hesitates, her eyes distant. "It's loud, heavy," she murmurs. "Not like here." She speaks of a garden where roses bloom year-round, a house with rooms like Nkosi Square, but her words falter, pain or secrecy cutting them short. Juma, sensing her guard, shifts to Nkosi's tales, his hair stories. The baobab that talks in storms, his voice easing her tension. Amina laughs, a sound like bells, and shares a tale of a city bird that sang only at dawn, their stories braiding a fragile trust, their worlds meeting in the hut's dim glow. Zuri, serving stew, watches, her cough rattling, her mother's heart torn. "Rest, both of you," she says. But her glance at Amina's bracelet betrays unease, it's silver, too fine, echoes traders' tales of distant wealth. Juma, oblivious, shares his bowl with Amina, their fingers brushing, a warmth beyond the stew. Outside, Nkosi stirs Lila, fetching water, spreads word of Amina's recovery, her fine beads fueling gossip. Elder Mfo, by the square, muses to Casey. She's no villager, his staff tapping. Casey, counting cowries Juma owes, mutters. City trouble follows her. The griots, their chorus strings humming, weave Juma's ravine trek into songs, but Amina's presence, like her cryptic tales, sparks questions. As night deepens, Amina sleeps, her cloak a blanket, her breathing even. Juma, repairing Zuri's loom, whispers to his mother, "She's alone, like us." Zuri, coughing, nods but warns, her world isn't ours. Juma, "Be careful." Her words, heavy with love, echo her forest caution, but Juma, pendant warm, feels a pull to Amina, her story's a window to a life he can't imagine. He steps outside, the village quiet, stars bright above the woods. The river's hum, where he first heard Amina's cry, calls softly, and Juma wonders about her city of lights, his heart tethered to Nkosi yet stirred by her mystery. By morning, Amina sits up, her wound scarring, her strength growing. Juma, fetching firewood, brings her a carved stick to lean on, his hands steady despite Kessie's unpaid debt. Amina, testing her steps, shares another tale of a market where voices blend like rivers, of a father whose shadow loomed large, her words guarded, hint at loss, and Juma, listening. Offers a story of his father's pendant, its leopard a guardian. Their laughter, soft in the hut, builds a bridge, their bond deepening. Unaware that Nkosi's elders, led by Mfo, gather to question Amina's origins. Their suspicion a spark that will soon test Juma's loyalty to the girl whose billionaire truth lies hidden in her tales. The morning sun climbs over Nkosi, its light warming the mud huts as Juma helps Amina step outside Zuri's hut, her carved stick steadying her. The Quevi poultice remember that red root from the ravine mending her wound. Amina's silver bracelet glints, her beaded braids swaying, her fine cloak draped over a borrowed tunic, marking her as an outsider despite her smile. Juma's leopard pendant swings gently, his patched sandals kicking dust, his heart lifted by Amina's growing strength and their shared stories of city birds and talking baobabs. Zuri, her cough worsening, watches from the doorway, her worry deepening, sensing Amina's mystery. Nkosi's square buzzes. Lila weaves baskets. Griots strum choras, but the elders, led by Mfo, gather under a shade tree, their suspicion of Amina's origins growing, stirring Juma's protective instincts as whispers threaten the bond he's built with the girl whose billionaire secret remains veiled. Amina, leaning on the stick, marvels at Nkosi's simplicity, the children chasing goats, the women pounding millet, the river's distant hum. "It's peaceful," she says, her polished accent stark against Juma's rough drawl. He grins, guiding her to a bench by the square, his kindness reflex, like sharing stew with her. "Not always," he says, pointing to a cracked roof he plans to fix, his eyes bright. Amina's tales of her city towers, noise, roses echo in his mind, but her guarded pauses, like when she spoke of her father, puzzle him. He wants to ask more, but her smile, fragile yet warm, keeps him quiet, their bond a quiet flame in Nkosi's bustle. Elder Mfo, his snake-carved staff tapping, calls a meeting, his voice carrying across the square. "This girl," he says, eyeing Amina, brings questions. Kessie, beside him, nods, her cowrie debt unpaid, her suspicion sharp, her beads, her bracelet city wealth, not wanderer's rags, she says, her voice low. Lila, overhearing, whispers to Juma. They think she's trouble. Juma, protective, frowns, his pendant warm, recalling Amina's fevered trust in the woods. "She's hurt. Not dangerous," he says, his voice firm, the same courage that faced the leopard now shielding Amina from Nkosi's doubts. The elders summon Juma and Amina, their faces stern under the shade tree. Mfo, stroking his beard, questions her. "Where are you from?" "Child," he asks, his staff pointing. Amina, gripping the stick, hesitates, her eyes flicking to Juma. "A city, far off," she says, her voice steady but vague, echoing her hut tales. Kessie scoffs. "Cities breed liars. Why hide your truth, Juma?" Stepping forward, defends her. "She's healing, not hiding," he says, his heart racing, his kindness a shield, like when he scared off the wild dog. Mfo's eyes soften, but he warns. Truth finds its way. "Boy, watch her close." Back at the hut, Amina, shaken, sits with Juma, her bracelet clinking. "They don't trust me," she says, her voice low, a flicker of fear in her eyes. Juma, mending a water jug, offers a story of a hare who outwitted a hyena with honesty to ease her. She smiles, sharing a tale of a city fountain that sang at midnight, her words less guarded, their bond tightening. Why not tell them more? Juma asks, gentle, his curiosity like when he asked about her city. Amina's gaze drops, Some truths hurt, she says, her hand brushing his, a warmth beyond friendship sparking, though Juma, unaware of her wealth, feels only loyalty. Zuri, coughing, brings tea, her worry plain. Juma, her world's not ours, she says, echoing her wood's warning, her mother's heart sensing trouble. Juma nods, but Amina's trust, her hand in his during the wild dog scare, anchors him. Outside, Nkosi whispers, traders swap tales of city folk, griots sing of Juma's ravine courage, but Kessie spreads doubt, her cowries unpaid. Lila, loyal, tells Juma, and foes sending word to traders someone might know her. Juma, pendant warm, feels a stir, his protective instinct flaring, unaware that Amina's billionaire truth, tied to her cryptic father, is a tide about to crash into Nkosi's quiet valley. As dusk falls, Amina rests, her stick by the mat, her stories of fountains and roses lingering in Juma's mind. He repairs Zuri's loom, his hand steady, but Empho's warning truth finds its way weighs heavy. The river hums, the woods call a faint echo, and Juma, gazing at Amina's sleeping form, vows to shield her. His kindness alight against the elder's suspicion, blind to the storm brewing as a stranger, drawn by whispers of her beads. Nears Nkosi to claim the billionaire girl whose life he saved. The dawn breaks over Nkosi, painting the village in soft pinks as Juma fetches water from the river, his leopard pendant glinting. His thoughts on Amina's guarded tales remember those stories of singing fountains and a looming father Amina, now stronger, walks with her carved stick. Her wound scarring under Casey's Quevi poultice. Her silver bracelet and fine cloak drawing eyes in the square. Zuri, her cough a constant shadow, weaves in their hut, her warnings about Amina's world sharper, while the elder's suspicion, led by Empho's probing, simmers like a storm. Juma, his kindness a flame that faced leopards and elders alike, stands by Amina, unaware that her billionaire identity is about to unravel with the arrival of a wealthy stranger, drawn by whispers of her beads, threatening the bond forged in Nkosi's humble heart. The square hums with morning life women roast ground nuts, children chase guinea fowl, griots strum tales of Juma's ravine courage. Amina, sitting with Juma under a shade tree, shares a quieter story of a city library where books whispered secrets, her voice softer, her trust in Juma clear. He listens, mending a basket, his heart warmed by her smile, their bond deeper than the wood's call. "You'd love Nkosi's river at dusk," he says, offering a tale of a fish that danced under stars, his laughter easing her city-weary eyes. But Lila, running up, breaks the moment. "A stranger's coming," she whispers, "from the city, asking for a girl with beads." Juma's pendant warms, his protective instinct born in the wild dog scare flaring. A horn sounds, and a sleek vehicle, its metal gleaming like nothing in Nkosi, rolls into the square, dust swirling. A man steps out, tall, his robes crisp with gold thread, his eyes hidden behind dark glasses. The village still's traders gape. Empho grips his staff, Casey's cowries forgotten. "I seek a girl," the man says, his voice smooth, lost in these parts, with silver and beads. Amina, beside Juma, tenses, her stick trembling, her face pale. Juma, sensing her fear, steps closer, his voice low. "Who are you?" he asks, his courage raw. Like when he faced Empho's questions, the man, removing his glasses, fixes on Amina, her guardian. "Malik," he says, "and she's no wanderer." Empho, Approaching, demands answers, his staff tapping. Speak plain. City man. Malik. Unyielding, explains Amina. Daughter of a tycoon. Vanished after a crash. Her wealth tied to mines and machines. Her beads a mark of her house. Nkosi gasps. Lila's eyes widen. Kessie mutters, city, gold, Juma. Stunned. Looks at Amina, her tales of the towers now heavy with truth. Amina, voice breaking, confirms. He's my father's man, but her eyes plead with Juma, fear mixing with trust. I didn't lie, she whispers, her hand brushing his. A spark from their hut talks. Juma, pendant, hot, feels betrayal but holds her gaze, his kindness battling doubt. Malik offers cowries, a sack heavy with wealth, to Nkosi for Amina's care, his tone cold. She returns with me, he says, gesturing to the vehicle. Mfo, tempted, nods, but Juma steps forward, his heart pounding. She's not a prize, he says, his voice firm, the same strength that faced the leopard. Amina, gripping her stick, speaks. I choose my path. Her defiance, a fire Juma saw in the woods, stuns Malik, who frowns, his authority shaken. The elders murmur, Casey eyeing the cowries, but Zuri, coughing, joins Juma, her hand on his shoulder. Let her speak, she says, her love bolstering his stand. Amina, leaning on Juma, tells a fragment her father's death, her flight from a gilded cage, the crash that led her to the woods. Juma saved me, she says, her voice clear. Not for gold. The village softens, Lila cheering, griots strumming. Malik, cornered, offers Juma a reward, his eyes calculating. Name your price. Boy, he says, but Juma, pendant warm, shakes his head, his kindness pure, like sharing stew. She's safe. That's enough, he says. Though Zuri's cough and Nkosi's poverty weigh on him. Amina, grateful, squeezes his hand, their bond alight against Malik's shadow, her billionaire truth now bare. As noon blazes, Malik retreats, promising to return, his vehicle roaring away. Nkosi buzzes traders swap tales of city wealth. Griots sing of Juma's heart, but Mfo warns. Wealth brings trouble. Juma, guiding Amina back to the hut, feels her truth shift his world, her city looming like the wood's spirits. Her touch, her trust, anchor him, but the stranger's arrival has lit a fuse, and Amina's next revelation will test Juma's simple life, pushing him toward a choice between Nkosi's dust and a billionaire's dazzling world. Section 8. The afternoon sun burns over Nkosi, its heat rippling across the square where Juma and Amina sit under the shade tree. The dust still settling from Malik's gleaming vehicle remember that stranger's arrival, heavy with cowries and city power. Amina's wound, scarred by Quavi, no longer binds her, but her silver bracelet and beaded braids now carry the weight of her revealed truth, a billionaire, daughter of a tycoon. Her life a far cry from Nkosi's mud huts. Juma's leopard pendant rests against his torn tunic. His heart torn between Amina's trust forged in their hut talks of fountains and hares and the dizzying reality of her wealth. Zuri, her cough a constant ache, watches from their hut, her warnings about Amina's world now proven, while Nkosi buzzes with whispers of gold, testing Juma's simple life as Amina's full story unfolds, challenging everything he knows. Amina, her carved stick idle, meets Juma's gaze, her eyes heavy with the truth she hid. I should have told you, she says, her polished voice soft, the same that spoke of city roses. Juma, mending a cracked jug, nods, his kindness holding despite the sting of her secrecy, like when he faced Mfo's suspicion. "Why hide it?" he asks, his voice gentle, his curiosity sharp as when he asked about her city. Amina sighs, her bracelet clinking, and begins, her words a river breaking free. "My father built an empire, mines, factories, towers," she says, "but it was a cage. He died, and I ran, chasing freedom until the crash landed me here." Juma listens, his hands still, her world of machines and markets as strange as Griot's spirit tales. "You're free now," he says, thinking of her wood's rescue, but Amina shakes her head, her beads swaying. "Malik wants me back. To control the wealth," she says, her voice tight, fear flickering, like when she gripped his hand during the wild dog scare. She speaks of her father's will, naming her heir to billions, but tied to Malik's oversight, a man whose cold eyes mirror hyenas. "Nkosi's different," she says, touching the shade tree. "You, Zuri. This place, it's real." Juma, pendant warm, feels her trust, their bond a bridge over her golden chasm. The village, though, churns with her truth. Lila, weaving nearby, whispers of Malik's cowries, her eyes wide. Kessie, in the square, haggles with traders, her unpaid debt fueling her greed, muttering, "Juma's fool to refuse gold." Elder Mfo, under his hut, speaks to griots, his staff tapping. Wealth tempts, but Juma's heart holds. He says, his praise for Juma's ravine courage now laced with worry. Zuri, bringing water, overhears, her cough harsh. Juma, her world pulls hard, she warns, her love a shield, like her wood's caution. Juma, nodding, feels Nkosi's poverty, Zuri's medicine. The cracked roofs but Amina's hand, brushing his, anchors him to her. Not gold. Amina, sensing his struggle, shares more, her voice raw. "I wanted to be nobody," she says, "but you saw me, Juma, not my name." Her words, like her hut tales, deepen their bond, her billionaire life a shadow against Nkosi's son. Juma, stirred, tells of his father's pendant, a poor man's legacy, its leopard, his only wealth. "You're enough," he says, his smile shy, their laughter a spark, like their stew-shared nights. But Kessie, approaching, interrupts, her eyes on Amina's bracelet. "City girl, your kind brings trouble." She snaps, her cowries unpaid. Juma, protective, stands, his voice firm, like facing the leopard. "She's Nkosi's now," he says, his heart choosing Amina over whispers. As dusk falls, the square quiets. Griots strumming Amina's tale, Juma's rescue. Malik's gold, her hidden crown. Amina, resting in the hut, sketches a rose on a scrap, her city mark, and gives it to Juma. "For you," she says, her trust a gift, their bond a light against Nkosi's doubt. Juma, tucking it with his pendant, feels her world's pull, his simple life cracking like the jug he mends. Zuri, coughing, watches, her fear sharp. Malik's return looms, his cowries a lure. The river hums, the woods call faint, and Juma, torn by Amina's truth, faces a test claim Malik's reward for Zuri's medicine, or protect Amina's trust. His kindness aflame in a billionaire's dazzling storm. The twilight casts a soft glow over Nkosi, its mud huts bathed in amber as Juma sits with Amina outside Zuri's hut. The rose sketch she gave him, remember that city mark tucked beneath his leopard pendant, its paper warm against his heart. Amina's wound, healed by Quavi, leaves only a scar, her silver bracelet glinting as she leans on her carved stick, her billionaire truth now bare after Malik's arrival and her confession of a caged empire. Juma's patched tunic, torn from the woods, carries the dust of his loyalty, his kindness forged in ravine treks and wild dog scares binding him to Amina despite her wealth's allure. Zuri, her cough a rasp, weaves inside, her warnings about Amina's world heavy, while Nkosi whispers of Malik's cowries, testing Juma's heart as he faces a choice claim a reward to save Zuri, or protect Amina's trust, his simple life teetering on a billionaire's edge. The square hums with evening life traders' pack stalls. Lila sings with griots, their chorus weaving Juma's courage and Amina's mystery. Amina, gazing at the stars, speaks softly, her polished voice a contrast to Nkosi's dust. "You could have taken Malik's gold," she says, her eyes searching Juma's, her trust a fragile gift, like her rose sketch. Juma, mending a rope, shrugs, his heart torn. Zuri needs medicine, he admits, his voice low, the pendant warm, recalling his unpaid debt to Casey. Amina nods, her bracelet clinking. "I can help, but it changes things," she says, her city's weight towers, mines, Malik's shadow looming in her words. Juma, stirred, thinks of Nkosi's cracked roofs, Zuri's cough, the children's bare feet, yet Amina's trust, her hand brushing his in the hut, holds him. "I don't want your gold," he says, his kindness reflex, like sharing stew, but his eyes betray worry. Casey, passing, overhears, her sharp voice cutting through. "Foolish boy, her wealth could save your mother." She snaps, her cowries unpaid, her greed a spark. Amina, tense, grips her stick, her fear of Malik's return clear, like when she paled at his vehicle. Juma, protective, stands, his voice firm, like facing a foe. "She's not a debt to pay," he says, his heart choosing Amina, though Zuri's rasp echoes. Elder Foe, summoned by Kessie's complaints, gathers the elders, their staffs tapping under the shade tree. Juma, "Her wealth tempts us all," Foe says, his eyes kind but stern, recalling his warning about truth. "What's your choice, Juma?" Pendant hot, faces them, Amina at his side, her presence a quiet strength. "She's Nkosi's, not Malik's," he says, his courage raw, like the leopard scare. Amina, moved, speaks, her voice clear. "I'll stay. Help? But not with chains," she says, her billionaire power a tool, not a cage, her trust in Juma a mirror of his wood's rescue. The elders murmur, Lila cheering, but Kessie scoffs, her greed unyielding. Night falls, the village glowing with fires, griots singing of Juma's stand, Amina's choice. Zuri, coughing, joins them, her hand on Juma's shoulder. "You've your father's heart," she says, her love a shield, though her illness weighs. Amina, offering a woven blanket, promises medicine, her wealth a gift, not a lure. Juma, accepting, feels their bond deepen, her rose sketch a promise, like their hut talks of hares and fountains. But Casey, whispering to traders, sends word to Malik, her cowries allure, unaware that Juma's loyalty, pure as his ravine trek, will face its final test as Amina's world and Nkosi's dust collide, forging a future where kindness outweighs gold. The dawn paints Nkosi in hues of gold, its mud huts shimmering as Juma and Amina walk to the river. The rose sketch, remember that city Mark Amina gave him safe with his leopard pendant, a symbol of their bond forged through woods, wounds, and billionaire truths. Amina's scar, healed by Kwevi, fades. her silver bracelet gleaming as she carries no stick, her strength restored. Juma's torn tunic, patched anew by Zuri, carries the weight of his choice loyalty to Amina over Malik's cowries, his kindness a flame that faced leopards, elders, and Casey's greed. Zuri, her cough eased by Amina's promised medicine, smiles from their hut, her warnings softened, while Nkosi thrives, its square bustling with new roofs and full granaries. Juma's selflessness transforming the village with Amina's aid, their love blooming toward a wedding under the valley's stars. The river hums, its song echoing the cry that first drew Juma to Amina, and they sit on its bank, sharing stories, his of dancing fish, hers of city libraries, their laughter a bridge between worlds. "You changed and cozy," Amina says, her polished voice warm, her billionaire wealth now funding wells, a healer's hut, and Zuri's care, her trust in Juma unwavering, since the wild dog scare. Juma, pendant warm, grins, his heart full. "You stayed," he says. His kindness seen in shared stew and ravine treks now a legacy. Griots singing of the boy who saved a queen. Their hands entwine, a spark from hut talks igniting love, their bond sealed by trials. Good. Malik's shadow, once a threat, has faded his return, months ago. Met Juma's defiance and Amina's resolve to control her empire from Nkosi, her wealth a tool for good, not chains. Kessie, humbled by Amina's gifts, tends the new healer's hut, her cowries earned, her greed a lesson. Elder Empho, his staff now carved with a rose, leads a council with Amina's wisdom, and Kosi's fields green, its children schooled. Lila, weaving fine cloth, calls Amina sister, her tales of Juma's courage now ballads. The square, once dusty, blooms with market stalls, traders flocking to a village reborn. Amina's billions a quiet force, Juma's heart its guide. As noon blazes, the village prepares a feast, drums thumping, announcing Juma and Amina's wedding. Their love a tale griots weave wood's rescue, billionaire unveiled, loyalty's triumph. Zuri, her health restored, weaves Amina a headscarf, her cough gone, her pride in Juma a mother's glow. "You've your father's heart," she says, her love a thread from wood's warnings to this day. Amina, in indigo robes, her beads sparkling, walks with Juma under a baobab, its shade the spot of her rescue. Their vows spoken to Nkosi's cheers. Mfo, blessing them, raises his staff, the rose carving bright, declaring, kindness weds strength, Nkosi's dawn. The feast spills into dusk. Chorus strings humming, children dancing, traders toasting with palm wine, Juma, in a woven tunic, and Amina, her bracelet a quiet nod to her past. Share a yam, their laughter echoing their first meal. The river glints, the woods hum, and the pendant, warm, feels his father's nod, griots singing of a boy whose heart turned dust to gold. Nkosi, once poor, thrives, its future woven by Juma's selflessness and Amina's love. Their wedding, a seal on a tale where kindness outshone billions, under stars that saw them rise. Now, dear listener, let the tale drift like a river's song, its current slowing as Nkosi rests under a velvet sky. See the village at peace, its lanterns glowing, huts sturdy, children dreaming of Juma and Amina's love. The baobab stands, a witness to their woods meeting, its roots deep as their bond, forged through wounds, truths, and vows. The river hums, the stars wink, and griot's notes fade to a lullaby, carrying Juma's kindness. Amina's heart, a village reborn. You've walked their path, ravine risks, elder doubts. Love's triumph, let it settle, a warm ember in your soul. Sleep gently, under a sky that holds there forever. Thanks for listening.